Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered which components in a PC you can buy secondhand and which one you shouldn't? Well, let's go through them and see the arguments. Let's see the pros and cons for buying used or for buying new. Let's start with an easy one. Also, you can keep this in the background. It's gonna be like a podcast kind of sort of thingy. There's gonna be nothing important on the screen, so feel free to just minimize it and listen to my voice. So first of all, it's case. Obviously, yeah. Buy it used, whatever, save money. There's nothing can go wrong with the case. Even with case fans, it's rare. Like the bearings can go wrong, and it might get a little bit noisy. But if you're trying to save money, this is the easiest way to save money. Just buy a used case. Mm, there seems to be no drawback for doing that. Yeah, so just save money. Buy used. What do we have next? The CPU. That's a little bit different story. Because obviously you can buy a bad CPU secondhand. Yes, that can happen. But if it's working, it's usually reliable, very reliable. It doesn't deteriorate much. Of course, it's a silicon, so it does a bit over time, but not that much to justify paying extra for a new CPU if you're really on a tight budget and if you're trying to save money. It's great to go with an older gen. So at this point, it's in August of 2023. Like AM5, the Ryzen 7 series came out a decently long time ago at this point, and there's been a 13 gen Intel and whatnot. But if you're trying to save money, you might consider like an AM4 platform still at this point, like 3700, 5600. Yeah, and that might be a great deal on a used market. So yes, definitely, if you're trying to save money, if you don't need the CPU performance of a top tier current gen CPU, if you don't need current gen CPU just because of it's a current gen, then go for it, save money. So that's a plus for me. What do we have next? Motherboard. That's kind of I would advise against getting a used motherboard because when you look up prices of a used motherboard against a new motherboard, you can get, for example, when I looked at the M4 boards, I know it's an older platform, but still, you can get like used motherboards for $50 and the new ones are 65, 70. Is it worth those $20? Losing warranty and everything? Yeah, you know, there are also caps on a motherboard that can go bad over time because they obviously, if there are electrode caps, they dry out over time slowly. It's not a big issue if the board is a couple years old, but if it's getting like 5, 6, 7, the chances are higher that it will go bad, really. And also the ports might not always work because of it's a complicated piece of engineering, of electronic engineering motherboard. There are a lot of traces, a lot of everything, a lot of chips, integrated circuits, and I would say I would advise against it. Like really, it's at the end it's your money, and if you trust the seller enough, if you see it working, if everything is working, if it's like open package, kind of newish kind of deal, then maybe. But otherwise, nah. I would get a new motherboard. It's a main component, you know. Everything gets connected through a motherboard, so you don't wanna have your motherboard go bad and will actually destroy your other components That might be more expensive than the motherboard. So next we have RAM. And of course, yes, 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 yes. Just yes. Buy used whenever possible, whenever you feel like it. If you're okay with the how to say it? Well, if you're okay with the looks of an older memory, then yeah, there's not much that can go wrong in RAM. It has no moving parts, obviously. It's a really reliable component. And if the MEM test goes okay, why not? If you can pick up the memory and test it on site, that's ideal. Go push it through memtest. If everything is okay, then it's super good deal in my opinion. And you can just save money. It's a free money. Usually RAM sticks, memory sticks don't go bad. So yeah, go for it. Then we have a CPU cooler. That's an interesting question because we have two categories of CPU coolers if we are not talking about custom loop water coolings. Yeah, those are a different story. And if you're in a budget build, you're not gonna be looking for a custom loop. So we have two categories, AIOs and air coolers. For air coolers, it's relatively easy. Nothing can really go bad. Heat pipes last a very long time. Nothing can go wrong if they're not bent or anything, if they're not dented, if the fins look okay, then the cooler is safe to buy. Really, used. There's not much that can go wrong. If the fan is if the fan is broken or is noisy, you can always replace just the fan. But the cooler, yeah, usually outdates usually lasts a long time, and there's not much that can go wrong with them. So yes, for air cooler, it's a big yes. For AIO, I wouldn't be so hasty about getting a used AIO. First of all, there's a pump, usually on the CPU block itself. That's the block that's touching directly the CPU. And if it was mounted incorrectly, for example, if the pump is the highest point of the loop, then it might go wrong really quickly, and it might be making weird sounds already. So there would be a reason not to buy the pump, not to buy the AIO combo cooler. But if it was used very lightly, like it's a big maybe. I would stay away from it. But if it's like a good deal for almost a new AIO, then yeah. Otherwise, not really. Because then, even though it's a closed loop, there's still, you know, there's still some liquid coming out of it through vapor, through the tubes. Really, it's and if the bubble is caught in the pump, then it's a big bad for the pump after a long time. So the age definitely plays a role in AIOs more than an air cooler. Air cooler, the heat pipes, yeah, they're really sealed. They're copper tubes, usually with a like a micro thingy tubes through them to help the vaporization effect to transfer the heat. But the AIOs, no, I would stay away from them. Really, don't buy used AIOs, please. Don't. It's not worth it. It's not. Been there, done that. Then we have a PSU power supply. Just don't buy a cheap and used power supply. Really, don't. Get a good power supply. Power supply. If power supply goes wrong, then there is a potential for everything to go wrong in your PC, and you don't really want that. It's a core component of a PC. it's what transforms your wall power into a nice smooth 12 volt DC that's used by the computer. 12 volt, 5 volt rail, 3.3 volt, everything. And yeah, you don't want to have a higher voltage on a 12 volt rail pretty much, because if you get a higher voltage rail due to the PSU malfunctioning, then it's a bad time for everything in your case, really, in your PC, for your GPU, for your CPU, for everything. And motherboard might die, obviously. But there might be like an interesting discussion between getting good brand if you're really on a tight budget, and you're having like $40-50 to spend on a, well, that's really low, 50, 55, $60, $50-60 to spend on a PSU. Would you rather get a new one from a lesser known brand or a good one that's been used? That's an interesting discussion, because there are obviously capacitors, electrolytic capacitors in a PSU. But I would say in that circumstance, I'll go with, if you can test it and if you can see that the PSU was really has been used and is perfectly okay to be used, then I would go with the used one. But that's a very specific scenario. Otherwise, I would save a couple more bucks and get a good one, a good PSU. You really want a good PSU as a, just as the most basic building block of your PC. That's a PSU. So yeah, get a good PSU, don't cheap out on your PSU, on a power supply. You would regret it more than you can ever imagine. Like, just save a couple more bucks and get a good PSU, get a good power supply. And yeah, I think that's... No! I would almost skip the most important thing, the most controversial kinda. Graphics card. Would you get a used graphics card? Some people say definitely no. Some people say it might be a good deal. And I'm one of those people that say it might be a good deal, but you need to be a little bit careful what you're choosing. Especially after the mining debacle kinda that's been lately. So everyone's selling mining cards because it's not longer profitable. But it's still a good deal. It might be a good deal to get older gen GPU. So I would say yes, I bought some older gen GPUs and I'm perfectly happy. Currently I'm even running older gen GPU that I bought 2 years ago, and it's 2080 Super. And it's been fine. It's been fine. It's been completely fine. It was just like that I was a little bit careful and I looked at it. If you can pick it up and if you can stress test it on site before you actually buy it, then that would be super ideal. But that's not always possible. The main question is, was it mined on it or wasn't it mined? If it was mined on it, then the seller might even tell you. And if it was underclocked and running really cold and fine in a good airflow room, then it still might be fine to buy if it's a year old. Like the performance drop is not gonna be that much, really, for you to have a bad gaming experience. And you would save a lot of money potentially. You can pick up GPUs for half a cost what they cost new. So I would say yes, go for it. Buy a used GPU if you can. If you're on tight budget, if you don't care about the latest, well, if you don't care about the latest generation features, like DLSS 3 for NVIDIA, AV1 encoding, all that sort of stuff, you know? Ray tracing. Well, you can ray trace on a 30 series NVIDIA GPU, fine. But still, the Tensor cores and the other core, not just Tensor cores, but their generation ahead, yes. So I would say yes, go for it. If you don't care about the latest features, if you're trying to save a buck, if you're looking for a price to performance build, then yes, go for a used GPU, but be careful what you're picking. Ask the seller many questions about how it was used, how old is it, and all sorts of stuff. Look at the card, ideally. Pick it up, don't let it be shipped to. If you can pick it up personally, yes, go for it. If you can test it on site, that's a plus. If you can see like a stress test with a benchmark and see the numbers, then it's great. So I would say yes, go for it. And with all that used components, you can save a lot of money for your next build or to get a better components than you would be able to afford with your tight budget. So yes, I hope this helped someone and that I wasn't boring too much. But I'll see you some other time. Bye.